Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Seeds of the Infinite webinar number 8. I started just a little bit later this time, and hopefully that will still be convenient. I also, under this wonderful Mercury retrograde, sent out some incorrect times, but I hope the people in the United States got my correction on that. When I started 6 o'clock on the East Coast, temporarily at least, while we're all on daylight saving time, it's 11 p.m. on the day before and not midnight. But okay, I hope that arrived for you. Today we're going to extend our work with the so-called simplicity of identification. As I said, the way to Shambhala is the way of simplicity, and it is in Shambhala that the full power of the monad on the cosmic physical plane is experienced. But this simplicity is by no means easy because it requires getting so many things out of the way. I thought before beginning the meditation that we would take a look again. I'm not sure we've done it before, but take a look at this wonderful Formula 3, the 6 conditioning thoughts which the initiate holds in his consciousness when using the formula, a formula which is older than the stanzas of Jian. And this is well worth memorizing. It is such a statement of being. There are several, in the Tibetans' work, several statements which concern being above all. And there are, of course, many individual isolated sentences, but this is an entire section on it. And one day we'll meditate on this, and as I have in some of the classes that I've taught. But it's an amazing thing, and just reciting this to oneself on a daily basis can, I think, bring us into a state of awareness which otherwise will elude us. So I'll just pause meditatively to listen to these words, and then we'll give them more attention as we proceed. And of course, some of the things are missing from this, as he says. These 6 trumpeted words were all trumpeted on different notes and had profound effect on the consciousness of the individual who was passing through this third initiation in Atlantean times, I presume. The Christ and the Buddha were 2 such who did that, and that was maybe some millions of years ago, 3 or 4 million years ago. What were we doing at that time? Because certainly we were doing something, but nowhere near this possibility. Anyway, just get yourself into a meditative mode, and we'll kind of start with this and see what it suggests to your consciousness. God is. The Lord for A stands firm. Being exists alone. Naught else is. Time is. Being descends to manifest. Creation is. Time, then, and form agree. Being and time do not agree. Unity is. The one between comes forth and knows both time and God. But time destroys the middle one, and only being is. Space is. Time and space reverberate and hide the one who stands behind. Pure being is. Unknown and unafraid, untouched for unchanged. God is. Time, space, the middle one, with form and process go. And yet for remain. Pure reason then suffices. Being cries forth and says, it's not translatable term, death crumbles all. Existence disappears, yet all for remains, untouched, immutably the same. God is. Okay, it's an advanced formula, but I would recommend it strongly. Page 285 of Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2, 284, 285. I would recommend strongly memorizing it and repeating it to induce this sense. The word sense is not correct, but this sense of the reality of being, and not only the reality of being, but the soul, S-O-L-E, soul reality of being. It's the only thing that is, it's the only thing that remains when all else crumbles and is destroyed. And what we want to be able to do as we begin to perceive this isolated unity is to be aware of the beingness of things, no matter what else may be apparently happening. And that's a dual type of consciousness, in a way. It's really the ultimate of in the world and yet not of it. And as I've said, it's so easy to get trapped, in the world of becoming without simultaneously being able to sense the world of being. So we'll come back to that, spend longer on it, we will discuss it, but just to reintroduce the idea that Formula 3 here in Discipleship of the New Age Volume 2, which is as DK says, a manual for initiation, or it's a primer, initial type of book for real initiation. That and the ancient Atlantean chant are, at least for me, the two great statements in the Tibetan's work that has to do with the realization of being. Of course, we could isolate many other things as we study the cosmic paths and other things in cosmic fire. But if you really think about what the Tibetan has tried to convey to us, it's just a massive, massive teaching. And the world seems so far from it in a way as we go through these terrible purgations which are emerging from limited consciousness. And our task, of course, is to try to help the consciousness become less limited so that it can perceive more and deeper the reality of things. Okay, now eventually, we're going to work ourselves into this little formula that I use, atipia, all that I perceive I am. And to be is to be perceived. Of course, it's an ancient philosophical idea that if there is no perception, there is no thing. Thing in the normal sense. So that all things in our relative world are in fact perceptions, not necessarily our own, but the self-perceptions of the universal logos, the one being of cosmos who is just, if I can say it, he is the absolute being, but he's also really in demonstration, he, it, whatever. It is the infinitesimal, absolute infinitesimal of the absolute being. And that self-perception is what gives us our world. Whether now or in times past or in times to come and in other universes and other universes to come, it's all self-perception. There is the reality of things are perceptual. That's what I'm trying to bring across here, so that if we do know ourselves, we will know the world. And if we ever come to the point at which we will, repeatedly, of being the universal logos, which we are essentially, we will perceive all aspects of ourself, which is the entire universe. Now this is, these are thoughts and way beyond the possibility of realization at the moment. But we can at least enter the stream and be on the right track. That is what is important. So now our meditation. And then we'll have our discussion. And, what I'm trying to do here is go slowly. Last time we were working on what we call the simplicity of identification. It's so simple, it's elusive. We're going to continue with that idea, and we're going to enter kind of a stream of consciousness. Last time we isolated an individual to whom we may be attracted or whom we find pleasant or agreeable or a friend or something, and sought to see the identicality of ourselves and that other individual. We also, in a more difficult sense, um, we isolated an individual to whom or from whom we were, let's say, repulsed, a negative, someone we consider to be negative, either historically or in our own personal life, and then tried to overcome that perception of qualitative negativity and still identify. As some of the group members commented, this was more difficult because our personal reactions, the astral body gets in there and sets up a field of repulsion, and it's difficult to perceive being in a state of repulsion. Maybe it's not more difficult than to perceive being in a state of extreme attraction. But we have to go beyond the pairs of opposites here, because being is that which lies between the pairs of opposites and includes them both. So it's neither attraction nor repulsion. It's something which is both of them and far beyond. It's beyond good and evil, to use an ancient idea which has become a book by Nietzsche, the philosopher Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. I'm not sure that he meant what I'm talking about, but true being is beyond good and evil. All things are possible within it, that which we might call extremely evil and that which we might call extremely good. All things are possible. So let us begin. And this time I'm going to also bring in one of the kingdoms of nature, which is not the human kingdom, namely the animal kingdom, and let us see if our capacity for identification can be extended from the human kingdom to the animal kingdom. And we'll maybe next time I'll bring in also the vegetable and mineral kingdom at the same time. We need to be able to look at anything in our perceptual world, and realize that essentially, not formally, but essentially, we are that which we perceive. And this will require practice. This will require acting as if, practicing acting as if, in your own way and in your own time and in your own circumstance. So we'll begin. And maybe we're already there a bit because we've been meditating a little. Neti, neti, not this, not that. You carry the body, and it is a very present perception, and it's most familiar, maybe the most familiar thing about the self, but one is not that body. This consciousness that we are, this being that we are, has had many, matter of fact, an infinitude of physical natures. This is temporary. I am not that. And yet I am, of course, but temporarily not that. And our field of emotions, we felt many ways, had many desires over millions of years. They are constantly changing. What I am is not that. It's just my instrument for attraction and repulsion. Neti, neti, not that. Not this, not that. And my mind filled with thoughts. These are not the thoughts of centuries ago, or thousands of years, or millions of years ago. Those thoughts are always changing in that field. have a mind, but I am not that mind. And as if you are very, very far from the personality as a whole, standing back, looking at it from a great distance, it's a tiny thing. And who is doing the looking? What is doing the looking? As St. Francis is said to have said, what we are looking for is what is doing the looking. We're something else entirely from the obvious objectivity with which we usually identify ourselves. And if we were in this world of light and love and power, this world of scintillating, colored, sounding energies called the egoic lotus, DK says we can have no real idea of its magnificence until we actually experience it. It's a good place to look out from, at least imaginatively, but it still isn't essentially what we are. But yet in this field of light and love and spiritual sacrificial power, we are more truly ourselves than in the limited world of personality. We take our place in the fiery center, in the central fire, the jewel in the lotus, not yet revealed to us fully, but there we are, and looking out upon the world, and try to feel that perception of unity which prevails from this point of view. A great unity, including everything, and isolated in the consciousness which has expanded greatly because its center is the central fire, which is the extension of the monad. Nothing is excluded, nothing escapes, nothing is not in the unity and of the unity. Nothing is rejected. And this type of perception I am calling infuception. Infuception. Pointing to that substance which infuses all things, all perceptions, all registrations, and unites them. nothing escapes infuception. Entering the world of the higher mind, the plans are seen, and the great relationships. It's not a personal world. It's a world which dwells within the next great ring past not, that of the planetary logos. A tiny bit of how the logos, that logos, sees its own manifestation and its relation to other logoi. The world of the Buddhi reveals all in harmony, and when we see the unity, it's really intensified in the Buddhi. It's harmony, it's love, wisdom, straight knowledge, intuition, always aware of the whole. And on the Antakarana, the world of spiritual will, the will of our logos, at least some small part of it, it's the will which makes us a part of the divine plan. The world of Atma, called the Nirvanic plane, driven by this great will, not by our personal desires, even by our individual soul desires, but all of us becoming a tiny extension of a great will driving this planet forward upon its systemic and cosmic path. That will becomes our will. When we ask why we do something, it's for deeper reasons now than just because we want to do something. We will to be part of this greater will coming from Atma, the first externalization of the monadic being, the world of being, the 7 great circles on the monadic plane. Beyond Brahma, on the cosmic physical plane, into the world of Vishnu and purposeful design, the very essence of ourselves, if we can find it. Where subject and object are indissolubly one. we seek this intensification of being, this point of tension, which reveals being in all doing. It's inescapable, it's always present, it's eternal, it was never born, it will never die. And it is what we are. Regardless of the distortions of multiplicity. So this is the awareness we want to carry into our imaginative rangings, as the Tibetan called them. When we descend into the creative imagination, we want this sense of monadic being to remain with us and not be cancelled out by all the things that are happening, apparently. So last week we chose an image to imagine, two images really, and to identify with those individuals beyond their quality. Their quality, their value, their goodness or their badness made no difference. Because the state of being is beyond quality. Now, so much of our life is given to the pursuit of quality, and it must remain so. Because we are in the illusion, we're in the Mahamaya, we're in the purpose and the plan, and everything in that world depends upon quality. But being is something else. So now, focus in your heart center, at least be imaginatively aware of the alignment of the 12s. The 12 within the heart, the vehicle. The 12 within the head, the heart and the head center. The 12 upon the plane of soul endeavor, the egoic lotus. and finally, imaginatively, the monadic 12. All the way from the highest into the heart, which opens to the Buddhi. Now, in that alignment, you're going to allow a stream of images to come into your creative imagination. It's not that you focus just on one individual or two like you did last week, but you allow, without knowing what's going to happen, the images of different people, different individuals, come before your mind's eye. You don't have to rush it, someone will come. You behold that individual and you say to yourself slowly and repeatedly, I am you. I am you. I am that from which you have come. Out of me all things, I am you. And we try to generalize the feeling of identicality from image to image. You never know who's coming next. It can be someone you like, someone you don't like, someone you hardly know, someone you've never seen in person. So now, keeping the alignment of the 12s and determined to be the essence of the image which arises before you, we begin the flow of consciousness for a few minutes, one individual after another. I am you. You don't need to be limited to those who exist now. It can be from history. It can be from literature. It can be anticipated in the future. I am you. And do not let quality captivate you. All these individuals are externalizations of the one infinite being, in the words of Master DK. So be the field, the substantial field, out of which every one of them has emerged. This is something easily practiced. All-inclusive identification wherever you are. Those who are so-called alive, those who are dead, those who are gone before, those who are to come. I am you. Being beyond quality. And as the stream of individuals comes before your mind's eye, it turns out to be all one being, with quality emerging from that being, but the beingness is the key. And you could extend that, of course, to the inner nature of every individual, and to the ultimate monadic nature of every individual. You don't let anyone escape being you. No one escapes. And ultimately, nothing escapes. So practice this when you're in your meditative moments or when you're walking around in the world and see many strangers, apparent strangers. There are no strangers. Qualitatively, there are strangers. In the realm of being, there are no strangers. However good, however bad, however lowly, however high, however admirable, however repulsive, there are no strangers. let us keep this feeling of this identicality in substance with all human beings, the many that come before our mind's eye, and extend it. To be specific, there are many kingdoms of nature. We know of 7, but there are many more. And very close to us is the animal kingdom. Choose an animal, maybe a pet, maybe an animal you admire, maybe a domestic animal, and get the clear image of that animal, that younger brother, as it were. Keep your 12-fold alignment, or alignment of the 12s. Behold this qualitatively lesser being, though not existentially lesser, and practice I am you. There really is no this or that, it's all a you. It's all an I. Practice I am you. It's not true formally, it is true ontologically, existentially. Now let the flow begin, just as we did with the human individuals. Let us see before our mind's eye some different members of the animal kingdom according to how they come up in your imagination. And every time a new image arises, try to feel the field out of which that animal form arose, and that field is what you are. Practice this identification in the flow of images. Let us begin. It may be a little harder because you really have to disidentify from the form. and only concentrate on the essence. There's a tremendous diversity in this kingdom, and every one of these forms is an externalization of the one infinite being. All forms are alike, says DK, in that they hide the light and are but externalizations of the one infinite being, which ultimately every one of us is. Harmlessness is the life expression, the expression of the life of the one who realizes himself to be everywhere. So we don't let the unity leave us. No form escapes the substance that we are. The unity is always felt. I am you. And this can be practiced in real life, in imagination. The animal kingdom does not escape being what we are. And what would our life be like then, if we dwelled within this unity, and were in fact the unity? To be you is still greater than to love you, and includes the love. And in the love that is now emerging through the Christ and his hierarchy and through the planetary soul, the unity will be increasingly perceived. And from the unity can emerge something deeper still, the identicality of being. I dwell within a world of unity. I know all souls are one. Hark to the joyous paean that I chant. The work is done. My ear is deaf to all the calls of earth except to that small voice of all the hidden souls within the outer forms. For they are as myself. With them I am at one. God's voice rings clear, and in its tones and overtones the little voices of the little forms dim and fade out. I dwell within a world of unity. I know all souls are one. Swept am I by the universal life, the life of God. And as I sweep upon my onward way, the way of God, I see all lesser energies die out. I am the one, I God. I am the form in which all forms are merged. I am the soul in which all souls are fused. I am the life, and in that life all little lives remain. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. And may Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So then these things can be practiced, and there are many moments when the perception of unity can be the content of our consciousness. It doesn't excuse us for a moment from doing all that we must in the world of relativity. That I have to keep accenting. The practical world of material consequence, the creating of right relations in the world of becoming, is essential and ongoing, and will be the theme of every universe. However, if we reach the point in our developmental lives when the presence of being occurs simultaneously with the activity of becoming, then we have taken a step into the kind of perception, the infuception, I call it, which the masters constantly have, and all lives beyond them, onward move in life, and not just in consciousness, in which they must also onward move, but they onward move in life. And we must also, every universe, being extensions of the one infinite being, we must reach the point when we can onward move in life. Okay. Now, if I'm certainly open to any thoughts or responses that you may have. You know, you realize that our work here is mostly meditative. Because if we're going to achieve anything along this line, it's going to be done through meditation, which leads to realization, which leads to unification, which leads to identification. So meditative approach is key. And, you know, I know we're in uncharted territory here, in a way. We've been cultivating the mind and cultivating love, and we must. And being is ever present, but unrealized. And that's our next step into life, life itself, without abandoning that which emerges from life, the will, the love, the intelligence. So I'll look over here and see if there is anyone who would like to offer a thought, response.
There's a question?
Or there is a question, okay. Thank you, Brett. Yes, from Ruby, okay, or from whomever. Yep, go ahead.
From Ruby, can you include a copy of this meditation, including the prayer chant that you shared in the meditation toward the end? Thanks.
Okay. Excuse me. Well, first of all, I do send every meditation out to everyone. But of course, I keep on a little bit spontaneously inventing things as I go along. So I also send the link which gives the replay of this meditation. Now, if we want to look at the ancient Atlantean chant, you can just go into your CD-ROM, and it's called Discipleship and Its End. It's in Volume 1, Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 1. It's on page 678. So there is the ancient Atlantean chant. And It must have been an amazing thing, you know. You kind of think that if the Christ and the Buddha took the third initiation in Atlantis, then maybe this particular eightfold stanza was part of their process. You know, in the former incarnations of the Christ, there was a character. I don't know whether it came after Krishna or before, but it was a person well versed in the Upanishads, the philosophical aspect of the Vedas. And this person was called Maitreyi. Maitreyi, I'm not sure whether it was a man or a woman, but it was a person that was in the dialogues of the Upanishads. And this person was being instructed on oneness. And I'm pretty sure it was the being we call the Christ. DK refers to the former incarnations of the Christ and hints at a particular incarnation, the name of which we don't know. But as I was reading some of these Upanishads and the instruction that Maitreyi was receiving, I felt it was the Christ, and it was all about oneness, which is really the great theme revealed by the fifth ray and the first ray at the third initiation. Now, it's not the fullness of isolated unity at the fifth initiation, and who can even say that that's the fullness? I mean, it's got to go on and on. But at the third degree, you know, coming under the fifth ray, coming under Venus, coming under, you know, maximal, well, let's just say extensive soul infusion, the oneness realization is a great, great theme. The sun on top of the mountain, what it looks like to see the panoramic view, and to begin including everything under the monadic ray. So I guess I wandered off there, but I think I answered. I think I answered the question, and so here you go on page 678 of Dyna 1, and then when you go to Dyna 2, go to page 285, and you know where that is because you've been in those classes. The 6 trumpeted stanzas that are older even than the stanzas of Xian. And then, and as I go along and, you know, sort of collect in my mind where are the great statements about being in the Tibetan's teaching, I will bring them forward. These are the two which stand out to me as exemplary, dealing with being directly and in a form, in a whole section of text. DK may describe Shambhala. There's a place where he describes the perception of the monad, and I'm always losing it. It's somewhere in the rays and the initiations, and I know some of you know which one it is. It talks about being the point and being the sphere at the same time. The individual realization and the realization of the whole. And that is a very monadic statement. If anybody, Joe or Brett or Kay, if any of you can find that, just alert me to it. It's in Rays and Initiation, and it talks about I don't want to go hunting for it right now, but it talks about the realization of the individual, of the point, and the expansion of that point into the whole. These may seem, as I said, like very mystical thoughts. They are very Neptunian in a way, but don't forget Uranus. The two go together. The two greatest of the sacred planets, the most esoteric of the sacred planets, Uranus and Neptune. It requires both of them to stimulate the kinds of realizations that we together are searching for. Okay, Ruby, I hope that covered it. If anybody has further thought, you're most welcome. I see some of the same names and some new folks that have come on, and remember that if you go to Makara, I think Brett, you've put all these on, haven't you, so people can review our process.
Yes.
Yes. So and like I say, every time I try to send you, I kind of evolve a new meditation each time. It has the beginning part is quite similar because it's the abstraction part and the placing of ourselves imaginatively in higher states of consciousness, and then we do some practical interior psychological things which help that realization of coming through infuception of the all-pervading medium or substance which unites all things. Like I threatened one of my sons to write a book called Even the Asphalt. I told you about it. We were out for a walk and we were talking about identification and how all things were one thing and all things were you, and we were staring at a at a part of the road where tar and asphalt had been put down, and it was rather fresh. And my son, who's a philosopher, he kind of said curiously, "Dad, even the asphalt?" And I said, "Yeah, even the asphalt." So practicing identification with apparently inanimate things, which we'll do next time, is can be quite fruitful and productive of revelation. Okay, I'm looking to see if anybody would like to say anything. I know the subject is way out there or way in there, as the case may be. And like I say, some people just, get high on oneness and so forth. That's not enough. You have to have a tremendously practical mind and learn what Master DK has learned. You've got to learn all that and be able to handle all that and master the illusion, even while always being high on oneness. Now let's see. Looks like my wife, who is here with me, would like to speak, and I'll turn myself off here.
Well, this kind of huge thing again, what was expressed for us is like difficult to take an angle from where to start. But while we were going through the formula, God is, time is, and it kept on reflecting into my mind this image of Vishnu. And again I was realizing that how rich is the Hindu mythology and how valuable for our teaching, because somehow these images are capturing the reality and the parts of it. It's stupid to say even that the reality has parts, but while we were going on, also the meditation and identifying with the humans and then with the animals, the same thing was linked to this image of Vishnu, and that image what I am now somehow trying to go diving and deeper into it, where Vishnu is lying on the ocean. He is on the Naga, the serpent, Sesha, and from the navel grows the Brahma, and then Lakshmi is on the feet worshipping Vishnu. So the realization in that sense went in my consciousness into the vehicle of consciousness, what this vehicle of consciousness is, because it was something. Oh gosh, how difficult this is, because there are so many aspects. That how the I was or is appearing, that we can realize something, that we see something in that vast, vast ocean, and that ocean where the Vishnu is floating came to my mind that okay, this is time. And then when we were going through this practicing the identification, I realized that going through reflecting no so-called known human beings and unknown human beings, and suddenly I was in that realization how I am like in the whirlpool of time, that it didn't make any difference of any point of time. It was just like this pool. And I was thinking, am I now in that, can I say, place where is this navel growing, the navel cord, how do you call that, birth cord? Yeah. Yes, is that the umbilical cord in time, where the prama is related to Vishnu, and is that the wormhole in time? Because I was everywhere. My consciousness was absolutely everywhere. I realized that even though you had not directed us to this next step like the animal kingdom, it was everything. It was all things in manifestation. I realized it is the chair that I am sitting, it's me. It was the car driving, and I had my pet little dog on my lap sleeping, and I'm realizing I am she, her, so it didn't make any difference. And then it brought me to think about time and something like a magical process, that if we would be able, I'm still going back to this image that Vishnu, the second aspect, the perceiver, perceiver and perceiver, is floating in relaxed states on the ocean. So what about if we are able to keep the ocean, the astral plane, which is directly related to time, in a poised stage, and reflect as the God is reflecting or brooding, meditating and brooding in his mind the manifestation. So could we change in those, what are these brackets, could we change the future and the past, how we would reflect in our mind? This is because it was in that sense I could understand in this identification that because everything is me, I can also manipulate my life.
Yeah, this is interesting because it is said of the masters that time and space are their playthings. So the possibility of manipulating time and space, or the realm of Brahma, does exist for the true master of the wisdom. Well, many thoughts emerge, many extensions, many possibilities, obviously, and well, any one of them would require a lot of. Sometime we will together meditate on time and timelessness. There are many things coming, in this. Once the sense of identification begins to get hold of us.
I still continue because, sorry, because it was so a vast thing. So in that thought also that I am realizing this fragmentation in time. So they are only there, but then there is like two approaches. There is this concrete mind approach, which is chronological. But then I think this higher, in higher mind, there is the centralization of time, which is like the idea of wormhole, that in that centralizing time, one can see in at one moment everywhere, and that made me to that second point of the animal, that sometimes when I have looked, for instance, my little pet, whose name is Lakshmi, and I'm seeing her as a human being, and I'm seeing it that split second, like this huge evolutionary span that she has to take before she is there, and it expands my heart in that same time, like this compassion towards life, how hard and at the same time how majestic it is, and all of that, which is it goes beyond the words, because it is just so amazing and fantastic.
Thank you. a lot said. Thank you. I think the the name of our little series is Seeds of the Infinite. Seeds of the Infinite. And if the seed can begin to sprout in our consciousness, all kinds of realizations can emerge. Okay, friends. Okay, we have another hand, and we have other questions. Oh, Stephen. Okay. Dear, put yourself on mute. Let's get you going here. Stephen, hi. Welcome from Australia.
Hi, Michael. I'm wondering, could you first bring back the, I think they were seed thoughts. There was 8 of them on the seed thoughts for the stanzas of the Gyan.
Is this it, Stephen?
Yeah, I was just wondering, that's it, yeah. I was just wondering if you'd like to comment on what you think AYE means.
Because forever.
You pronounce it as A.
A or I, either way.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but I think it normally pronounces I and.
Yeah. I. You say I, and yes, and all that. But for A, when you pronounce it like A, it more means eternity, ongoingness, foreverness. At least that's the way I have treated that. Sometimes you say aye, sir, yes, but in this particular context, I think it means forever, and I think it is pronounced for A. Now, I could be wrong, but at least that is the way it has impressed me. The Lord for A stands for... Yeah.
Do you think it could possibly be I know phonetically, certainly in the Australian branch of English, we would say I. Could it be a veil for I as in self?
Aha, interesting.
Because when you read it, for example, yet all for I remains, all for self remains in terms of this. Yes,
it's a good thought. It's a good thought. And you would know. Yeah.
it sort of seemed to have some meaning there.
Yeah, I think there could be another meaning there. I suppose maybe someone could look up the pronunciation. You know, of course, there are these variants depending Australian English and British English and American English and so forth, and different pronunciations. But the whole word "I," you know, relating as it does to that which perceives, is a mysterious combination of thoughts. It's as if without the I, there can be no sense of the objectification of the I. You know, you need the I to see the ego. And in a way, you need to become blind and enter the darkness to participate in the fullness of being. In other words, I sometimes think that pure being has no I at all. It simply is, and that the I, which identifies the various individuals, the I's, is a great limitation upon pure being. This is another subject and something I intend to get into with the discussion of infinity. In my view, and I've kind of offered it, every universal process, however infinitudinous there may be, begins with self-perception. The pure being becomes an I. In other words, an I emerges and sees the self that is. And then, when that happens, there's a tremendous limitation upon pure being, and the whole process of descent into I-ness, a limited I-ness, begins. But I think you would be right in pursuing this line of thought where the word AYE could also mean the I or the I-ness. It is interesting, and one could go that way. Anything else there, Stephen?
No, thank you for that.
Yeah, okay, you bet. Glad to have you here. I always remember a definition of isolated unity, which Stephen gave in one of our classes maybe 20 years ago or more, and it was really brilliant. I don't remember the words, but you hit it spot on, so it was one of those moments where I said, well, this guy knows what it's about. Thank you for your thought. Okay. Are there any other questions? Were there other questions that arose? Sam has a question there. Would you read it to me, Brett?
Sam has a comment. See Raised in Initiations, page 56, page 287, and page 508 for circle and point references.
Okay, let me write those down. Maybe I'll just go through the first one. We'll take the others. So it's page 56.
Yes.
Page
287.
And page
508.
Probably we can't do all, but I'll look at the first one. Thanks, Sam, for locating that. Circle and point references. And if we go here to page 56, I'm wondering if this is the... maybe this is not the one that I was thinking of particularly. Yeah, this is all about the Om and the AUM and so forth, and it's very important. Let me see this other one. 287. There's one particularly that I'm looking for. That one is very good. And this is about monadic signatures. I think, let's all of us study these. 287. Monadic signatures. Let's see what it says here. That we are concerned with monadic signatures, with that which synthesizes significances in the triad. and with that which contributes vital significance to the initiated life. Vital significance. He's really choosing his words carefully. I would have you, as you read my words, retreat within yourself and seek to think, feel, and perceive at your highest level of consciousness. The effort to do this will bear much fruit and will bring rich reward to you. You will not grasp the full intention of these words, but your sense of awareness. See, this is true of us, what we're doing now. But your sense of awareness will begin to react to triadal impression. I know not how else to word this, limited as I am by the necessity of language. You may not register anything consciously, for the brain of the average disciple is as yet insensitive to monadic vibration. Even if the disciple is capable of some responsiveness, there are not the needed words in which to express the sensed idea or to clothe the concept. It is therefore impossible to put the divine ideas into their ideal form and bring them down into the world of meaning and from thence into the world of symbols. What I say will therefore have more significance towards the close of this century. Well, it's past, okay, when men will have recovered from the chaos and cruelty of war, and when the new and higher spiritual influences are being steadily poured out. I write, my brothers, for the future. Well, those are really marvelous, inspiring words, and it looks like Rule 14, doesn't it? And let's look at just quickly 5:12. I'm looking, Sam, for you know the one I mean. Okay, these are the 6 steps to building the Antikarana, etc.
Michael?
Yes? Was I wrong? Yes. Go ahead, Brett.
Sam says, oops, I meant page 282 at the bottom.
Oops. Okay. Let's just see where our oops leads us. 282.
Yes.
At the bottom. Okay. Yes, okay, well, let's just look at that, because I think that's important. Okay, I've told you elsewhere that consciousness, as we understand, is being transcended, and a new aspect of universal sentiency is taking its place. To this development, I have given the inadequate name of identification. He says isolated unity is inadequate, identification is inadequate. Okay, well, we've got what we've got. This is a word which involves consciousness, which invokes the will, which is dynamic in nature, inclusive in contact, and which is also based upon the doctrine of non-separativeness. This is excellent. One of those excellent sections that we need to remember where it is. This, however, is only the beginning of an entirely new phase of development. Consciousness eventually drops below the level of perception. Whoa. It becomes an automatic and unregistered in its expression as animal instinct is to the human being. As automatic and unregistered as animal instinct is to the human being. It functions, but the man is not consciously aware of it. It is a protective mechanism. So much to contemplate there. The will aspect of the monad supersedes, but does not negate love. We emphasize that, which has become in its turn instinctual. Love is instinctual. A one-pointed, rapier-like assumption of identification takes the place of the inclusiveness hitherto felt and practiced. Perhaps I can convey to you something of what I mean by pointing out that the circle with the point at the center is symbolic of the perfect man. It is the symbol of the master, right? He is rounded out. He is inclusive, both vertically, soul contact, and horizontally, human relationship, yet he stands at the center of his consciousness, and of its self-imposed ring pass not. Self-imposed. From thence he never moves, but is aware all the time of all that proceeds within his sphere of influence. Here is the symbol of the master from a specific point of attainment. These are marvelous, and of course, we study this on the faculty of the Morya Federation, and sometimes we move one paragraph or 2 paragraphs per 2-hour session, and that's it. So we would be doing that. Sam, the one I'm looking for is also about individuality. Let's see. Do I dare do this? I'm going to do something. And, you know, and by the way, if any of you want my collection of AAB extracts and you don't have it yet, I'm very happy to send it to you. Okay, I'm very happy to send the AAB extracts to you. It's rather extensive, a lot of kilobytes or megabytes, whatever, but it's all these references. And from the individual, let's see, monadic. Let's try that. Can I get that? Uh-oh, something's wrong. I'm not quite getting this. There's got to be a monadic there for sure. Okay, this is AAB extracts. Maybe I'll just try the word monad. And it should be... Oh, no, something's wrong. Something's wrong with my search mechanism, and it's not coming up. So anyway, maybe, Brett, you can advise me on this at some time. I don't know why it's not coming up, but I usually can search here, and it's not working. But let me go down quickly, and let's see. I don't like to take time to do this, but okay, but I will, and just see if I can come up with the one I'm looking for. Okay, monad. Okay, monad consciousness. Just take a look at all these references on the monad. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll try to refine to find it for the next time, and if someone can remind me of that, I will do so. I'm very frustrated that I can't do a search here. Well, yeah, maybe, dear, but I Dominic, okay. Well, there's a lot of stuff on the monad, that's for sure. And it's on the monad and individuality and the point. It's on the monad and the point. Anyway, I've gotten lost in it, and so I can't really do it. But, like I say, I'm really willing to share this with you, and it's got some marvelous references. So I don't know why I'm having trouble with this, but there it goes. All right, let's see. Are there any other thoughts or questions that we want to... here is Anne. Yes? Go ahead. Yes.
Oh. Go ahead.
Okay, so there is Anne. She has a question or comment. Can you let me know that, Brett? Am I audible?
I have.
Yeah.
Anne and Ginny are asking for the compilation AAB references that you have.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
And I have a question.
Let me arrange. Okay, and I will in a second. Let me arrange to somehow have this sent through Joe and Brett to the people who are participating, and I think that will be very useful to you. Yeah, so we'll get that to you. Okay, we'll get that to you. Okay, now, what's the next thing? A question or a thought? Go ahead.
Jen Oliveira has a question.
Yes.
Using the I am you practice with others, even those who may hold a sense of repulsion, certainly with animals and those we care for, seems to engender a sense of responsibility that I felt. I wondered about that experience. Yes, harmlessness would be learned. Would that include responsibility?
I believe so, Jan or Jan. Yes, I believe so. Because if you think of the great exponents of harmlessness at this time, namely the Buddha and the Christ, two great teachers, their sense of responsibility, because of their participation in the life of every being, is immense. So, you have to see what arises in your own consciousness. Remember, DK said that the sense of responsibility is the first indication that the soul is really taking hold. You know, when responsibility appears, it is a soul impulse. But going beyond this sense of unity is the sense of being the whole and being responsible for the expression of the purpose through the divine plan. I mean, whose purpose is it, after all? The higher we identify, we realize that this great will, which is driving the purpose through the plan, is our own, and that we have intended from the very beginning to make it happen in the world of becoming. So I would say that, yes, the whole ecological sense arises. I'm responsible for the lower kingdoms. I have to, treat the minerals, plants, animals, human beings in the right way so that my purpose at the beginning is manifested, and so that the plan of God, which is really my plan, really happens. So I would say, yes, there will be an intensification of the sense of responsibility. I would say so, yes. Okay. Then any other questions there? Okay, here is Launa. She has her hand up. Hold on. Go ahead, Launa. You can speak. If you're you're on self-mute. So you have to press the green button to get off of self-mute so that you can be heard. Is it a green button, Brett and Joe and Kay? Is it a green button that she has to press? Is that correct?
There's a little green microphone icon.
Yeah, the microphone icon. Okay, you're on self-mute at the moment, so if you can get off that self-mute, then we can hear you if you had something you wanted to share, and we'd be very happy to hear you. The subject is big. I wish I could find that thing about the individual and the point. Gosh, I get very stubborn, and I get very, sort of tenacious about these things, from the individual, monadic. Let's just see if I can find this thing. And it's early on. Okay. That's it. Will somebody please remember this to me forever? Okay. This is the one also, Sam, that I was looking for. All right. Therefore, at the fourth initiation, the work of the soul is accomplished and the soul body fades out of the picture. Only the quality which it has imparted in substance is left as its contribution. And by the way, that will be absorbed by the triad. Is left as its contribution, whether that soul is individual, group, or planetary, to the sum total of manifestation. So the quality remains. Now, this is really fantastic stuff here. All that remains is a point of light. This point is conscious, immutable, notice that word, and aware of the two extremes of the divine expression, the sense of individual identity and the sense of universality. These are fused and blended in the one. Of this one, the divine hermaphrodite is the concrete symbol. The union in one of the pairs of opposites, negative and positive, male and female, in the state of being which we call monadic. No difference is recognized between these two, because if I can bring such ideas down to the level of the intelligence of the aspirant, it is realized that there is no identity apart from universality, and no appreciation of the universal apart from the individual realization. And this realization of identification with both the part and the whole finds its point of tension in the will to be, which is qualified by the will to good, and developed from the consciousness angle by the will to know. Well, that's what I was looking for, and it gives a whole new angle on the way that monadic awareness unifies the point and the whole. We could spend hours on that one. So just remember that, ponder it. It's page 106 of Rays and the Initiations. And thanks for the other references, Sam. That helps a lot. It looks like there's Ginny has a question here, Brett. Is that so? Or a statement?
We've covered everything at the moment.
Oh, have I covered Ginny Ross?
Yes, that was a request for the AAB work.
Okay. That was it. All right, friends. Well, like I say, I never quite know.
We do.
Go ahead, Brett. Yep.
We do have a new one that just came up.
Yes, go
From
ahead.
Ann. I was thinking time as a fractal is you change one piece of the whole. Excuse me, let me start over again. I was thinking time as a fractal is you change one piece, the whole fractal changes, something like changing past, present, and future.
It's very interesting idea, and you do wonder about time travel. Is it simply the travel of an observer, such as reading the Akashic record and so forth, or could there be intervention? And if there was intervention, everything would change. And that's not that's a whole other subject, very interesting, but would lead to a tremendous instability in the current state of affairs. If there were many time travelers intervening, everything that seems to be as it is now would be in a constant state of flux. So I think we have to study what DK means by time and space as play things, and whether the past can be interfered with. We know the future can change, depending on what is done now. I'm recalling, I told you about Master R and how he was interviewing one of the very important characters in the French Revolution, and he gave the individual the opportunity to make an important decision, and the individual refused to make it, and he said, "It's too late. Now the future is sealed. That which must come will come." But we can certainly change the future. The question is, to what extent are we the observer of the past, as in the Akashic records? To what extent can we actually change the past, and what kind of instability that would produce? I think my wife, who seems to love time, being a Capricorn, has something to say about that. So go ahead, Tuya. You're on self-mute, so unmute.
Okay, now. So back to this. We read there in the beginning of that earlier quotation, space and substance are synonymous terms. Substance is the aggregate of atomic lives out of which all forms are built. And it made me think about Varuna, the lord of the astral plane, who is said that because of him the urge of knowledge has appeared to the manifested world. And he holds this kind of threads, where there's 10 or 7, which are called these threads of Pasha, which are related to the destiny. So thinking about the time, what he is also behind creating the time, which is a relationship to the Neptune, So Neptune is like behind the time, even though we say Saturn. But there's the aspect of that how the time has become is in Neptune, and the Varuna, who is the Lord of West, it's like that the West, we have the responsibility to to um, to gain the knowledge which is under Varuna, gain the knowledge, and then these threads that he has in his hands, which are related um, to destiny. But then it is according to the law how you bind with these threads of destiny. So you have to know the law before you can manipulate the time.
That's really interesting. This whole idea of monadic destiny and these threads. Time and timelessness. We're going to have a number of sessions on that because I think we can prove that time is the result of limited self-perception. Or let me just say limited perception. Limited perception produces multiplicity, and without multiplicity there is no time. I think we'll get into that and prove that, and we will show why it is so that the Tibetan says in that 6 trumpeted words, being and time do not agree. Being and time do not agree. Now we have the world of Maya. Maya is time. It's the world of Brahma in a way. It's the world of constant movement of many apparent parts, and all of that is required by time. There is no time without multiplicity, without number. The emergence of number from no number, as the secret doctrine says. But in the no number, there is no time. I think we will establish this to be the case, even though we have to act as if time is real. Okay, friends, I think we're reaching the end of our time. Are there any? We're almost at the 2-hour mark, and in this world of relativity, we have to observe time because forms will wear out if we don't. Next week, it will be, let's see, this is the 3rd, so it would be the 10th, and so much depends on whether Tuya and I are traveling or not. But I'll let you know, as always, too late. Too late in the day. I kind of let you know about a day before, 18 hours before these things occur, because I have to be a little bit fluid given our present circumstance. But we will continue along these lines. You never know what's going to come up. You never know who's going to suggest what. You never know what idea may be put on the table and have to be discussed. I think what we want to finally do is to prove for ourselves experientially the eternal nature of that which we ever are, and to live the enlightened life which that realization produces. Not the limited life of limited identity, which also has to be factored into the situation, because in time and space there is a limited identity, but also to live as the very substance of life, as life itself. I am the life, says the Atlantean chant. I am the life. And in that life, all little lives remain, including the little life that I think I am, usually. So it's a total alteration of our self-perception, which comes with the intensification of identification. And meanwhile, we have to study everything the Tibetan has told us about all these other things. But this is the substratum of it all. Okay, I think that's it. For now, I know we could go on and on and on, But for the wait a second. Is there another question there, Brett?
There's a couple more items, Michael.
Yes, go ahead. Let's see if we have time for them in this timeless world. Yep.
Anne continues saying, no, not time travel, but as your consciousness progresses, doesn't everything change?
Well, nothing changes, ever, in the fundamental sense. And yet, the perception of the Mahamaya constantly changes. So we are in a paradox there, where the fundamental has never changed. It's the boundless, immutable principle. It is immutable, and it includes all possibility. Yet, given the tiny unit, which is the self-limiting extension of the Absolute, and the growth of the ring past not of that extension, then everything changes in perception, and nothing changes in reality. I guess that's the best I can say at the moment, and I'm not going to elaborate on that very much. We have to hold simultaneously changelessness and constant mutation. But only changelessness is real, because all is included. Every possibility is forever included in the changelessness. Okay, and then the other, thank you, Anne. And then another question or statement, Brett?
Yes. Maria Christina comments, is it not the Lord Varuna who rides the crocodile forming the Makara?
Yes, I think Tuya will answer to that. I believe it is. Venus, Lakshmi, and all that is involved.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Yes, Varuna is his vehicle, and he is the most ancient god of the Hindus. So Varuna is the vehicle how he came from darkness or through darkness, which means that the Varuna is the one who brought the substance from the earlier solar system.
Yes, okay. Well, in Hindu mythology, being heard. The rays of India, first ray soul, fourth ray personality. The soul sign is Aries, and the personality sign is Capricorn. And when we're dealing with all of the mythology on the fourth ray, all the images, all of the imagination, it reveals the one. Now just try to get more oneness than the first ray, Aries, and Uranus all together. That's the one, and that's the Parabrahman, and that's India's great gift to human thought. But it's in the mythology that it is contained. Okay. All right, friends, we're just going to close with something very practical, which is familiar to you. And is the mantra of the new group of world servers. Because in the world of relativity, that's what we are. Even though we are the boundless immutable principle, even though we are the one infinite being forever, we manifest our self-objectifications are limited. We enter the experience of limitation in order to be utterly complete. So, in this world of Maya, serving is the way into release for all. Release into the realization of what we are, where we came from, and the joy of the particular creation, our particular creation, this infiniteth time around. May the power of the One Life pour through the group of all true servers. May the love of the one soul characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones. May we fulfill our part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. Well, if we can live by that, in our own relative world with our relative identity, we are on the way and we'll be helping everybody else as well. So until next week, if Tui and I are not traveling on a train someplace or whatever, we'll be there again, probably at the new time, probably at 6 o'clock, which until daylight saving time breaks off, will, for the United States at least, be 11 o'clock on the East Coast and 8 o'clock on the West Coast. And I'll let the Australians and the New Zealanders figure it out for themselves. There are so many good little programs on the internet that give you the time changes all over the world, so we ought to be able to get it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And Brett, you start from the top, and I'll start from the bottom. And I hope to see you next time, and we'll continue trying to deepen our identification as being, not just with being, but as being. So if you can, just going to say goodbye to you now, and I'm kind of unmuting you, and Brett has unmuted you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Tally ho.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. And we'll send this out to you right away, and we'll send out the meditation, and we'll be with you. Okay. Let's see if I... Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm just trying to find my audio, my webcam, my screen sharing, and